Here's what's going on, people. I see I have one waiting for me, which I find very touching because I just put the notification up like 4 minutes ago. Anyway, I am trying to get into the habit of getting back onto my lives after my derailment of myself with all of my stupid yoga videos. I'm just kidding. I love my yoga, but I definitely don't think that the yoga true crime is quite a thing. I don't know. I mean, you guys, I welcome different opinions, but it just seems kind of silly. I didn't think I'd go there, but I went there. I think it helped me to get my homework done. But we're getting close to the end. I'll be certifiable in less than 3 weeks. It's crazy. I never thought I could do it, honestly. So thank you for being here. Let me ask if anyone is here. Maybe I'll wait a minute until I know someone's here. I was going to see if the mic actually makes a difference. I found it. It was in a briefcase of mine. That's what's so annoying about having to move stuff around is that, if I put something in a briefcase, then I don't know if I'll ever get it back to where it belongs. It's crazy making. This whole YouTube thing is crazy making, but I love it. Life is crazy making, but I love it. The lighting, I don't know. What's up with the lighting? Seems like I need more light on that side. See, that's what's so stupid is like how things are all the wrong side and everything. Anyway, I want to get out of your way so you can see the chakra tower. I was in Mama D's live a couple days ago, and I asked her if she'd seen my chakra tower in my background lately, and she said she hadn't. And I thought, man, I've worked really hard at getting that thing going too. And it's funny looking at some of my earlier videos where it's starting to build, but it's not quite anywhere near where it is now. Like everything in life, it's still not done, but it's evolved quite a bit. So voila. I just find it really cool. Really, really cool. So let's talk about some cases. Let's start with the good old, everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. I really enjoy connecting with my viewers. Please let me know if the sound is good, if you're here. Lately, we've been covering the Micah Miller case. We also continuously cover Kylie Rodney. There's a few others that I continuously like to cover. The Meredith Kircher case, for one. Helena Hutchins, Mo Wilson, Watts. Oh, man. I was in Kelly's live panel last night, Watts the Obsession. And I have a point of topic that I wanted to discuss with you. But I didn't finish my disclaimer, did I? All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I think I left that part off. I often do, and I try to get back to it. Also, please make sure you're still subscribed. Share a video of mine if you like and know somebody that you think might like the channel. And turn on your notification bells to ring-a-ding-ding when we're coming on live. So, what was I reaching for? My coffee, my Joe, and my creepy thumb, please. Here, I'm not holding it very well. Gotta hold it together, people. It's been rough. Hit that thumb. Hit that like button if you'd be so kind. So, yeah, whether you're catching me live, which it seems like maybe there's one, I don't know, or on the replay crew, I much appreciate my viewers. I much appreciate people who support this science experiment venture of mine. I really like to fight for justice for victims who are not able to fight for themselves. That's really what I'm all about. So with Micah Miller's case, oh man, where do we even begin? There's a lot of coverage of it and a lot of very, very good coverage. It's just so tragic what she went through. It's pretty unbelievable. So, in talking about gaslighters and criminals and narcissists in general, it is so difficult to try to make heads and tails when you're being gaslit and to try to explain to people what's going on, because these people are experts. And while you're trying to explain it and you can't even, see the forest through the trees, let alone articulate it, while you're busy doing that, they're like up to a whole lot more mayhem. So anybody who has experienced this firsthand knows exactly what I'm talking about. And it's brutal. My heart just absolutely breaks for her and for his ex-wife, Alice. And thank goodness she's been, she was a friend and ally of Micah's, which is highly unlikely, but maybe a trauma bond because they went through a lot together and recognized that they were both being played against each other. So hateful. And so her most recent court papers that I think came out last week document a lot and really spell out some of the games that have been played. And when you're dealing with a narcissist like JP, oh, hello, Patty Hines. Nice to meet you. Or nice to see you. I think I recognize your name. When you're dealing with a narcissist like JP, they will just keep you guessing. It's like their goal in life. And everybody across the boards is a pawn to them, including their own children, including their own parents. They're the only one that matters, right? Patty says, especially watch out for the aging narcissist. Just do research, everybody, and you can spot them sooner and sooner all the time. Very, very good advice there. The aging narcissist, what, do they get more clever? Do they get better at it? Because a lot of them are quite skilled, I'd say. And it's absolutely a nightmare. So yeah, Patty, it's lovely to see you. I don't think I've seen you in a long time, but I think I recognize the name. And it reminds me of Patty Hertz, right? Remember that? I'm sure she's still alive. She would be like maybe in her early 70s, I think. I was living in San Francisco when the day she got allegedly kidnapped from her apartment in Oakland, I think it was. I think she was 19, and I would have been like 6 at the time. So that would make her, I can't do math, 13 years older than me. We won't say how old I am now, but she'd be under 70, actually. We'll just go with that. No, I'm 56. I'll be 57 next month. That's crazy. So, yeah, she might be around 70, basically. And what a fiasco she went through. Talk about being gaslit and trying to figure out heads and tails. I mean, she was abducted by the was it like the Black Panthers? What was the crew that abducted her? It was like these radicals. It was the early 70s and maybe 1973. Yeah, and then eventually when she got rescued, and she says she had Stockholm syndrome, but the media and public prosecuted her as if she ran away with them, because she did fall in love with one of her captors who essayed her routinely. And she thought she was in love with them, and she was robbing banks with them. So a lot of people thought that she was just pretending that she was kidnapped. I tend to believe that she was kidnapped and that it was Stockholm syndrome. She be in her early 70s. She was, I believe, going to Berkeley at the time. And my cousin was a good friend of hers. Holy crap, Patty. That is awesome. Yeah, I was thinking a lot of people wouldn't know who I was talking about or what I was talking about. That's incredible that your cousin was friends with her. Yeah, I mean, I was 6. I was in first grade, so I believed everything I was seeing in the news. And then when I got a lot older and I read articles about her, I remember one in like Town and Country magazine in particular, and she was describing how she had no idea how things were gonna like fall apart for her and how people were gonna be pointing to her as a guilty party, and that she was too naive to get an attorney like right away, which she should have done like the day that she was rescued or however it was that she came out of captivity. I forget that part. um but yeah, do you remember the name of the gang type? That Liberation Army, there you go. Symbionese Liberation Army. Mary Stredwick, you are on it, girl. Look at you guys go. Yeah, I had no idea I'd be talking about her because I had no idea Patty Hines would come in. And, that was kind of my plan here, was to not have much of a plan of what I was talking about today. I like to have talking points, like not so much typed out, although sometimes I do print things that I want to read to you guys. But I like to just kind of sketch it out and have notes from thoughts that I've had in the last day or so, maybe while watching some other videos. So before I forget, let me talk about one of the talking points that I really wanted to hit on today, which is when you're having a live and you are chipping away at a case. And I honestly don't feel like I've been chipping away at a case for a while, so I don't feel like I have this going on right now, although you never know. But I felt like I had it going on last year with Kylie Rodney's case. Definitely felt like I had it going on with the Idaho 4. And I think I saw, Suzanne Morphy's case. I think I saw it last night in What's the Obsessions live, is getting trolled by key players from the case. So I don't want to say who it is, but in What's the Obsessions live last night, I was about 100% NK was there. So I'm going to put a link to that live. It was close to 3 hours long, but it was a good one as usual. Kelly is freaking brilliant. Her brain is just going a mile a minute. I don't know how that girl does it, but she does it. And there was more than one profile that I thought could have been NK. And there's been my own chats where I thought certainly somebody like the lead detective from Idaho 4 was in my chat. So I don't know. I think that if they're going to do things like that, they're going to think that they're really clever and come up with more than one profile, because then they can talk to themselves in your chat and, pat each other on the back and play games with each other and really try to steer the narrative of your live. And so it makes sense to me that somebody from the Watts case, a guilty party, would be targeting Kelly because she's so good, and just the name of her channel is all about Watts, but she knows that case inside out. And at the very end, like, I don't know why this one point just kept nagging at me, and I was going to say something, but there were a few of us on panel, so I was trying to give everybody time to talk, and it was kind of going a different direction. But when Kelly said she wanted to wrap it up, I was like, well, can I just say this one thing? Can I ask about this one thing? I'm curious what her thoughts were, because she's pretty much always spot on. So I brought up the point in the Watts case, for anybody who's familiar with it, about that brown paper bag that's at the bottom of the stairs on day one when the detectives are in the Watts home and talking to Chris Watts. And I think it's Baumhover who says, "What's this?" And Chris says something like, "Oh, that's, Shanann just brought that back from her trip. So maybe that's like a piece of luggage or something." And then next to that, I think it's a brown paper bag. He's like, and this, and he kind of looks like he's touching it and looking in it. And Chris Watts starts having bricks come out of his rear end. I mean, the look on his face is like he's about to just drop dead. Like his heart is just jumping out of his chest. And he says, "Oh, that's just some Anadarko stuff." And then Baumhover, I forget what he says after that, but then Chris follows up with basically, "Those are my fat clothes. Those are 38s, and I'm a fit dude now, so I was gonna give them away at work or something." But in that process, Baumhover just kind of backs off, like, "Oh, okay." And you can see the relief wash over Chris Watts, where, again, he still looks like he's about to collapse from all that stress. I want to know what the F is in that bag. I really want to know what's in that bag. Any ideas, you guys, if you know what I'm talking about? And if you don't and you're interested, go to the end of the live from Kelly's last night. And when I brought it up, she is awesome. She went right to a clip of it. She played it a couple of times. She's had a lot of thoughts and feelings about that particular item as well. And it was a really great discussion, a great note to end her awesome live on. Symbionese Army, you guys are so cool. The Liberation Army, I love it that you guys can help me when I'm talking about things I wasn't expecting to be talking about. And I'm not I could look it up on my phone, but I don't want to distract myself with my phone when I'm trying to talk to you guys. I saw you there, Jazz. Hey, Annabees. I don't know that I saw you there. Were you commenting? Because I was staying on top of the chat, which I usually don't when I'm in a live, when I'm on panel. I usually let the chat go because I'm trying to stay involved in the conversation and the visuals of what's on the screen if videos are being played. But last night, this one caught my attention as soon as she came in. Which was probably like 45 minutes in. And I was just like, And one of the things that these people give themselves away with, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not saying that I'm right, I'm just saying it's possible. One of the ways they give themselves away is they know too much darn detail, because I've studied that case a lot, not like Kelly has, but a lot. And these people usually articulate things that you would only know if you were there. So, and yeah, they might know it from studying the case even harder than somebody like Kelly, but I just don't think I don't even know if it's possible to study that case harder than somebody like Kelly. I mean, she's one of the absolute front runners. And there's a lot of people that have studied that case hard. And so it was nice to meet two of these lovely people on panel. One of them, her name was Tammy, Tami. And you'll see her on panel. I'll put a link to her channel in my description. She's from Australia, and she was making some great points. And then the other one, whose name is escaping me, like I've said, I'm terrible with names usually. She was working on a graduate school situation. I don't know if she was teaching a master's level and she is a doctorate or something like that, but she said she's been studying the case ever since it happened 6 years ago, or it happened almost 7 years ago. We're coming up on 7. No, 6. Yeah, 2018, right? And then, so she says she's been studying it since it happened. And then people have been writing papers about the family dynamics and such. And it was one of the two other guests that mentioned that maybe one of the reasons why the Rusek family is so adamant that nobody bring anything up and try to see if somebody else might have been involved and needs to be prosecuted in the case. They get so touchy about that. And I understand the touchiness. And at the same time, if that's a thing, then we have a really dangerous person or persons intermingling in the general population, which if they were involved in the demise of the Watts family, I think they need to be held accountable and put in a cage to keep the rest of society safe from them. Just my opinion. But I totally understand the Ruziks being scared that if anything were to happen with the case being reopened, that the case against Chris could fall apart. And I don't think that that's a possibility, although you just never know. I mean, the way our law works is that it's a living creature, so to speak, and there's always going to be cases that set precedents. So because he confessed, because they froze the investigation and refused to continue to document the evidence and then match the evidence with his confession, that's not normal. It's normal for criminals to confess. It's normal for criminals to lie in their confessions, to try to take the heat for their posse. That's totally normal. That happens all the freaking time. And law enforcement knows that. So it has always seemed to me, and I think to many folks, that law enforcement was protecting NK and protecting Anadarko's interests. I mean, Anadarko was going through a multi-billion-dollar merger at the time. When this familicide happened, the price, the negotiation dropped millions within days. And once they were able to wrap it up and put the plug on it, so to speak, the price stopped declining. And so Anadarko was still able to make that merger deal go through. And a company that big with that much money in an area, a city like Denver, you know, that's right outside of Denver, Colorado, money talks. I mean, everybody gets bought and sold. And DAs, it's always been my opinion that this DA did a foul job, an absolutely foul job. I have pretty much zero respect for DA work, especially after he came out into the streets of YouTube speaking about the case recently on his wife's channel. What is the name of the channel? The Survivor's Guide to True Crime. And her premise that no true crime channels care about survivors. Yeah, right. Like, I mean, come on. Aren't we all survivors of one thing or another? I mean, I've shared with you guys my tales of torment and tragedy and, you know, what really motivates me to study these cases. And the way that DA Rourke and his wife got together is simply unethical. Not illegal, although it should be. It would be illegal if things were slightly different. But basically, he was the DA on her case when she was assaulted in the most intimate way. And she was like 20 when that happened. She was a college student. And he was probably in his 30s. And then their story is that they met up 10 years later and then they got married. Like she was married to somebody else. He might have been married to somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, for him to be married to somebody that was victimized that gruesomely and that he fought for her, and her attacker got sentenced to like 23 years, which would also mean that he might be out of prison now. Wow, I had never really thought about that. Okay. But most perps in a situation like that don't get prosecuted. And if they do get successfully prosecuted, they don't get that heavy of a sentence. They often get a light sentence, basically, if anything. So the fact that this guy got the book thrown at him is great. They all should. But was the DA just doing that because he was having a thing with this victim? And to me, it just shows the fuzzy boundaries that he has in his profession or lack of professionalism. And I think that things were wonky with NK. I mean, she was like trying to flirt the pants off of everybody. She's a typical narcissist. She's a typical borderline. And that's what they do. They try to flirt the pants off of everybody. And anybody they can't succeed with, they annihilate. So let me get caught up with you guys. Let's see. I'm not subbed, so I couldn't say hi. Oh, you're not subbed in Kelly's? Let's see. And I don't know what she had it set at. You know, sometimes you have to be subbed for a week. I mean, when I'm being trolled really heavily, I'll set it so you have to be subbed up for like 20 days. But, you know, because then they're probably not going to get around to coming back and harassing you in your chat. And it's a distraction, although it's often good material. These people out themselves, they tell on themselves. And so that's great. That's absolutely great. Just a side thing, Patty Hertz is the most fabulous Indian basket, has the most fabulous Indian basket collection around. I know a dealer that sells her baskets and they're unbelievable. How cool is that? You know, I live in Ohio where that big basket company, Longenberger, if I'm saying it right, Longenberger, they're in Ohio. I think they went, they wrapped up their business, but they were like super successful for a long time with their Amish baskets. And yeah, baskets are awesome. That is a really cool piece of trivia, Patty. Thank you for sharing. I guess I missed that part. I remember that in the body cam video. So Annabise, it's at the very end, like the last 10 minutes probably. Like I said, I will put a link in the description and maybe I'll try to put a timestamp as well. No, I'm not sub, so I couldn't say hi. Her name is Chris. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, Chris Rourke. And, you know, I mean, it's just really sad to me that they made that video where he spoke way too much about the case after having spoken nothing about the case, basically. And he said some crazy, crazy stuff, which, again, it's great how they always tell on themselves. And then Paula Plunder did a video on it. Behind Criminal Minds did a video on it. Mist and Things did a video on it. And at least the first two got struck. Actually, I think Mist and Things got struck too. I think all three of them got strikes. And then Paula and Behind Criminal Minds were able to fight it and get the strike canceled out. And I don't know that if Mist and Things fought it or not. She's a much smaller channel, and she had talked about having a strike against her before for reading Sherilyn Cadle's book in her video without asking explicit permission, which she didn't know was a thing. And I didn't know that was a thing until I saw that. I was like, good, I don't think I've done that. So I'm glad to find that out, not the hard way. But yeah, the fact that they put out strikes against these two like super amazing content creating channels that were not legitimate. And then, you know, because it was fair use. Like those channels, they know how to abide by terms of fair use. And I think that Mist and Things, hers was fair use also. But the fact that they put out those strikes and then the fact that they took the video down, to me, spoke volumes. I don't know if that channel has a single video on it to date, because at the time that was the only video they had, just that one. That was the two of them interviewing Chris's husband, Michael Rourke. And he's still the DA, and until there's a new DA, I doubt the case will be changed, because he's got to save face. You know, he's got to pretend that what he said makes sense, which it doesn't. What was part of what he said in the very end, wrapping it up? One of the questions from one of the journalists was something like, do you think Nicole Kessinger was honest? Do you think she came clean? Do you think she shared everything? And his answer was essentially like, she was mostly honest, which in other words, no. And she destroyed her SIM card and all that stuff with the two phones, like she obviously had two phones. She sold her car right away. I didn't realize she sold her yoga business right away too. She sold her car just a day or two after the whole thing happened. Like it happened, on a Sunday night, Monday morning. And then I want to say she sold her car on Tuesday. In the discussion last night, they were saying like maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but I always thought it was that Tuesday. And then there's all that stuff in that case that nobody ever talks about, which is the silver paint that Chris allegedly picked up at the Toyota dealership for NK, and maybe like some windshield wiper blades or something. And it's weird because why is she even bringing it up? What does it have to do with anything? And it seems like anything she brings up is preemptive to try to explain away some things that might make her look guilty. So why was he stopping at the Toyota dealership to pick up these things for her car when, she was an independent chick. She knew how to take care of her own vehicle. Anyway, let's see what else you guys are saying. No, I meant the woman on the panel last night was named Chris. I don't know what Rourke's wife's name. Oh, thank you, Annabise. Chris was the other one. That's awesome. Thank you. I think that Rourke's wife is named Chris, but let me see. I have a lot of photos and things of them. Michael. That's funny that I think they have the same name. Oh, and it wants to look up Mickey Rourke, but here's Michael Rourke. It's Kimberly Rourke. Okay, good. I'm glad I looked it up since I was incorrect. So Kimberly Rourke, and then who is the Kimberly Corbin Rourke? Let's see. Survivor's Guide to True Crime. And so it's Kimberly Corbin Rourke and Kara Robinson Chamberlain. So, yeah, I think that they have a podcast on a different platform. So their YouTube platform doesn't have anything on it. Last time I checked, didn't have any videos on it because it only had that one, and then they took it down. But yeah, they both have been victimized, and I'm just looking to see if I can figure out which podcasts they're on. But yeah, it's a pretty tacky way for a couple to meet and get married. I mean, yikes. Absolutely yikes. Thanks for clarifying that, Annabise, and sorry for my squeaky chair. What was some of the things you saw the commenters say? So the commenter said a lot of details about the intricacies of the case and what was what NK was doing or not doing. I think there was only one commenter who was doing that, and they were one of a handful that were really fighting for NK. Like there were a few that were really fighting for her, and that's always weird to me because she's so gross. Like everything about her is so freaking disgusting. And not to slut shame anybody, but to like criminal shame people for sure. And Yeah, I mean, like I brought up the thing of asking Kelly if she knew if indeed there was an augmentation done in NK earlier in her life before all that happened. And Kelly wasn't sure, but we all speculated yes. And a couple of people were acting really offended, like, what's wrong with getting an augmentation? And I would say nothing's really wrong with getting an augmentation, but getting an augmentation and then stealing people's husbands who just happen to annihilate their family, then there's a problem. I got a problem with that. And it's also really high risk to go under the knife for anything, whether it's cancer or plastic surgery. If you go under the knife, you're taking a chance on your life. And so I don't think a lot of younger people go under the knife unnecessarily, or even a lot of older people. A lot of people do get plastic surgery, and I honestly don't feel any judgment towards that. I just know that people are going to be careful to deliberate when they realize that a surgery is a surgery. And anytime you go under a general anesthesia, you might not come out of it. And let's get back into the Micah Miller case. Her widowed husband, JP, who didn't get arrested on Friday, did not get taken into custody. I kind of had a prediction that maybe he would. But I do think he's been more shunned by his church than he was originally. I think they're really trying to distance themselves from him. So he instructed or requested or forced, however you want to look at it, Micah to get breast enhancements before he married her. And I mean, she was so freaking beautiful before and after, but it's a very dangerous thing. And then in her case, people that were maybe close to the situation have said that JP had allegedly instructed or requested heavily to the physicians to heavily medicate her, even more than normal when they put her under, saying that she was really afraid of waking up. And then the allegation is that she was never really quite the same after that surgery, and that she had a very violent reaction to the implants, which many women do, and that was where he really began controlling her, and the medical manipulation that obviously he kept a tight leash on her with that all the way up until the end. And I still don't believe that she did that to herself. I still am really offended that anybody that would judge the title of the book that she was listening to, which was Necessary Endings, that anybody would have a direct interpretation of that book being something to give her courage to end it, because that's not what that book is about. I immediately looked up that book once I knew that she was listening to that on tape. You can hear it on her Ring doorbell cam earlier that day. And it's all about ending relationships in your life that are not working for you so that you can excel and move on to better things for yourself. So specifically jobs, and I'm thinking she was probably listening to it more for the marriage, not for ending her her existence. It was not even a month after her birthday, or was it like a month and a half after her birthday? I know her birthday was the month before. So she just turned 30. She got a pedicure on her birthday. So, she was taking care of herself. She knew what she was doing. It was a difficult thing that she was going through, but she was very religious and does not seem like the kind of person, being as faithful to her Christianity as she was, that would consider ending her own life. And then, they try to say, well, there was the videotape of her in Africa claiming that she had tried to take her life before with the same type of method, and that it jammed, and that she thought that was a sign from God. And I am of the opinion that she was probably not telling the truth, and that JP had probably put her up to that, both to establish the foundation for what he might do to her someday, and to try to really draw people in. So, I'm not saying that Micah was a perfect angel, although she seems pretty close, honestly. She obviously did some things that she was not proud of, like some explicit things with JP that were very revolting to her, that she, I'm sure, had a serious I guess like self-esteem issues, knowing for her that she was involved with these things that really weren't her, but she thought she was doing what God intended, which was submitting to your husband and his every whim. I mean, that is just so unhealthy. I can almost understand if you have a healthy marriage and a healthy husband, but still, I don't think that's healthy. I think that women need to hold their own. I think every person needs to hold their own, male or female. That if you completely lose yourself in someone else, that's codependency. And that's not a good thing for anybody, including the person that you're losing yourself to. It's not good for them either. And why anybody would want that is really a narcissistic trait. Absolutely. I mean, you want people that you care about to be healthy, to be happy, and to be whole, and to be able to make their own decisions and to think for themselves and have their own opinions. It's pretty basic. Let's see what else you guys saying here. I agree, she is so gross. So yeah, Anna Bees, I would be more than happy to email you the exact name of the person that I believe, the profile that I believe was NK. I just don't want to say it here because I don't want to, poke the bear, so to speak. Yes, I agree that surgery is always a risk. Anytime you go under is serious. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, Micah was so beautiful. I mean, we've all seen pictures of her in her first wedding dress, which, by the way, is much more exquisite in my opinion than her second wedding dress. And she doesn't have the augmentation, and she looks freaking perfect, like beyond perfect. Absolutely spectacular. And I think she was some kind of beauty queen in high school, like homecoming queen or something, I'm not sure. But I mean, she was just an extremely precious person, and manipulated by JP. There has been information that I heard over the weekend that she had told people at the church. Oh, it's in the court papers from Alice, his first wife, that Micah had told people at the church that she worked with that she had slept with the pastor before her first wedding when she was 18. And so Alice was using that information not to villainize Micah by any means, but as the foundation for why JP was so detrimental to the safety and the mental health of their children, because doing things like that, and then in this church congregation where things get around, and for his kids to know that is insane. I mean, she was like a family member to them. They kind of took her in as an au pair, as a nanny. And then Alice, I believe that's the first wife's name, was kind of like a mother to her, and taught her how to drive and stuff like that. So for him to be cheating on his wife is horrible enough. for him to be doing that with people in the congregation, even worse. And for him to be doing it with people under the age of consent, even worse. Whereas Micah might have been 17, but there's no confirmation that it wasn't before she was 16, which I think is the age of consent. It gets a little fuzzy with 16, 17, 18. I mean, obviously 18 people are free and clear, right? That's why people don't usually admit to anything until someone turns 18. And probably the thing with Micah at 17 was that it sounds like JP was trying to pressure a marriage between her and her first husband, and her family wouldn't sign consent for her to get married when she was 17. And so then they had to wait until she turned 18. So I also don't believe that JP said, well, he said it. I don't believe that it's true. I mean, he's a narcissist and he's a liar, but he said that he didn't fall in love with Micah until he saw her walking down the aisle when he was performing the ceremony of her first marriage. And again, I think that he's saying that because then she was 18, but why was he committing adultery with her before that if he didn't have, I mean, obviously he didn't have the deep feelings of amour that he says he developed that day, but he just had lust before. Like, it's just so freaking twisted. It's so twisted. And then that whole thing about how I think she was 14 when she met him, and there was all the confusion about whether she was 10 because it got typed into one of the police reports inaccurately, I think. And of course, there's the possibility that they met when she was 10, before the family moved there from Kansas, before they moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But it sounds like that was just an inaccuracy in the police report. And yeah, that happens. People make errors like that. But 10 or 14 is kind of almost the same thing, you know? I mean, of course, it just makes it that much worse when they're even younger, but as if it could be any worse. I mean, come on. You know, if he set his designs on her when she was not of age and he was 15 years older, I think, 14 years older, because he's 44 now. She just turned 30. And then he's got that 28-year-old son from a previous relationship, previous to his first marriage, who was arrested for what? Hitting women over the head with bottles a few years ago. I'll put a link to the JLR Investigates video about that. I know a few people have touched on it, but I got to give it to JLR because he's really been pushing this case, and you know, he's got a sketchy past too, and that's okay. A lot of people have done things that they wish they hadn't done, but so long as you live and learn, I think it's great. And you know, just keeping yourself in check, especially on these streets of YouTube. It's so easy for content creators to get so freaking full of themselves, right? And I just keep trying to get out of the way so you guys can see the cool chakra tower. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what else would I wanted to bring up the Idaho 4 case again, because I watched one of the most recent 11/11 true crime videos that Mama D did. And she's talking about a content creator and Steve G who had like over 700 direct messages to each other. I think I know who the content creator is, but I just thought that was pretty wild. Pretty wild. And yeah, I think content creators need to be really careful with that kind of stuff. It can give a lot of insight into a case, but it can backfire so quickly, so easily. I think, really, really staying in your lane is important on so many levels, but especially in interacting with actual family members of actual victims of the cases that you're covering. So, each of us is free to make the decisions that we feel are best. And I know, for one, of course, I'm always interested in watching those types of interviews, but I've also seen those content creators really screw up and hurt the families again, when that's the last thing the family needs, is to be hurt again. So I want to invite you guys to say anything you want to say before I wrap up. We're just getting to the 50-minute mark. And like I said, I didn't really have anything planned to discuss with you other than in general and talking about the live from last night on What's the Obsession. And Kelly was so sweet to invite me up onto her panel. She is the person, the content creator, my mentor, one of my two mentors, who got me to break the ice with being on screen with YouTube, onto YouTube, as Xena, Warrior Princess, her special guest. And that must have been over 3 years ago. I'll have to ask her for a link to that video so I can link it up in one of my videos, because I don't know that I might be able to find it. I could try looking through all of her stuff and seeing if I could find it, because she made a big deal of it. She made that live like my extra special expert guest. She was talking about like my mental health licensure and background, and I had studied the case a lot by the time that happened. I think I'd been studying the case maybe for a year, maybe not. I really didn't start studying that case until that Netflix came out with the, what was it called? Like the All-American Horror Story, The Nightmare Next Door, or something like that. And we discussed that documentary a little bit last night, because I was appalled even the first time I watched it, and I barely knew anything about the case. I knew about the mistress, of course, because that was huge news. And they didn't mention the mistress. I didn't think at all. And so I rewatched it a second time, specifically looking for a mention of her existence by name, and I didn't see it. But Kelly says that it's in there. It's just brief. So I'm going to have to watch it a third time. That's why it's good to sometimes review things, because there's so much information. It can be hard to catch it all. But I don't even know if I have anybody here in my chat. Thank you so much for being here, you guys that were. And I'm going to wrap it up, sending you light, sending you love. Please be true to yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. Make sure you're getting proper nutrition and good hydration, and really take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health, take care of your spiritual health. It all goes together. Anna Bees is still here. Thank you, Anna. Love you too. You're so sweet. And I just love the bees. We were talking about that the other day, weren't we? Just how freaking amazing it is, their instinct to build their little beehive things. It's just like unbelievable, the miracles of our world, amazing. Like, I've never understood when people say, if there is a God, give me a sign. I'm like, is there not a million signs around you? I mean, I try not to bring up religion. I try not to bring up politics, but it can be almost impossible sometimes not to, right? So carefully, I shall sign off before I get myself into some hot water. And sending you love, sending you light. Have a great day. I hope that this is the beginning of a very productive week. And just be mindful of yourself. Be mindful of the people around you. Bees almost killed me. That's why I called myself that. Are you allergic, Anna? Are you freaking allergic? Did you have like the anaphylactic shock? Wow. And was it more than one bee? Like, were you stung by several? I got stung a few years ago when I was new to gardening. I hit a little hive of ground bees and I got stung by maybe 3 or 4 at the same time. And that sucked. Let me tell you, I'd never even heard of a ground bee. And yeah, gardening can be really dangerous. I know, poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, which is the worst, bees, wasps, but also other, sun can get to you. Yes, I'm allergic. Yes, I was stung by several. Yes, it was anaphylactic. I was 3 years old. Wow, Anna. So they didn't know, did they not know yet that you were allergic? How freaking scary. How crazy. And I don't know if it has to be like honeybees to have the allergic reaction, or if some people might get that allergic reaction even from the ground bees. I'll have to look into that because those ground bees hurt like crazy. No, that's how they found out. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you survived. Well, before we wrap up, if you want to share, like, how did you survive? Like, I mean, was there a doctor nearby? I mean, what year was it that they called 911? I'm imagining it was before cell phones, so they had to like run to a landline. Hopefully, you were close to a landline. That is a miracle, huh? So many miracles in this world. So many miracles. And, it's almost like it would be a miracle for some of these cases to get justice, because once things are documented in police files, once someone's cause of death is documented, it is so hard to get those cases reopened, to get the changes made, to go just from a simple accidental to unknown. And until that's done, say in a case like Kylie Rodney's, you're not going to be able to do much else with the case legally. So that's where they have to start. But then there was that case not that long ago. I want to say his name is Demetrius Johnson, but that's not quite right. I got to look it up because I want to get it right. It's important. Sorry. Kendrick Johnson. I was close. Okay, so Kendrick Johnson was found in a wrestling match on January 11th, 2013 in a high school gym in Valdosta, Georgia. And here we have 8 months ago, his family sues for $1 billion. Good. Yeah. So that case got reopened at least once, if not twice, and nothing was changed. So that was heartbreaking. I'm sure the family got all excited that the case was reopened, but the person that it looks like did the deed, in my opinion, is the son of a federal agent who commandeered the whole situation, got so many people fired, including himself, got himself resigned or whatever. What a nightmare. Kendrick Johnson, that's a case that the family loves having people bring up on social media. And I want to continue to bring that case up because that case needs attention. The alleged perp is now married to a girl that they were fighting over at the time that allegedly hooked up with Kendrick Johnson. And I don't think she's safe to be married to that guy if my suspicions are accurate. That's very, very scary. Absolutely crazy. Let's see. Let's see what you answered. They called emergency. I was at home. The ambulance ran me to the hospital. It was 1967. That was the year I was born, Anna. So we're very close to the same age. Here, let's see. And what did you say here? Is the one about being in the gym mat. So Kendrick Johnson, you guys, I'm going to put a link to Christina Randall's video about it. That was how I first learned of that case a couple years ago. She does such a great job. I love her. She's almost too cute, but she seems like a very sweet person too. And she's got a sketchy past, and she is happy to share that with you. You know, I mean, a lot of people, like I said earlier, have done a lot of things in the past that they wish maybe they hadn't. But what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So, you know, I'm no saint myself. I would never pretend that I am. I try to learn from my mistakes, of which I have made many. I'm sure I'll make some today. I'm probably making one right now as I speak. But, you know, being humble is really what it's all about, too. And that's the thing with this whole content creative YouTubery, is that people can get really full of themselves, especially when they get big, when their channels get big, when they get blowed up. And, you know, what goes up must come down. So brace yourself and just always keep your feet on the ground, keep your head on your shoulders. You know, there's nothing like a good helping of humble pie, in my opinion, no matter who you are, whether you're a content creator or not. Absolutely. So here I am again, preaching on my soapbox. I'm going to sign off like I keep saying I'm going to. Love you guys. I'm going to be trying to do these videos daily because I just need to get back into the groove. I'm going to try to stay off my yoga mat in my videos because I think I've almost worked my routine too hard. I don't want to overdo it. That's always the danger for me, is I overdo everything, like my chakra tower. Voila. So you guys, peace out, love and light. Have a blessed day, a blessed week, and see you in the next one. And yeah, Christina Randall, she's amazing. Her and Bailey Syrian, the murder, what is it? Murder makeup. I forget what the whole thing is called. I want to say Murder Mayhem and Makeup, but that's not it. She does the Murder Mondays, and today's Monday, so we should get a new Bailey Syrian too. All right. See you guys soon. Thank you so much for being here, Anna. Sending you blessings, and see you soon. There we go. End stream. Forgetting how to do things. It's been too long. And